Hi there everybody, Dave here from HeyUGuys. I am joined by John Lyer.
Hello, bonjour, everyone.
And no one else.
That's all you need.
Yep, that's all you need in your life. Today we are going to be talking about what we learnt when we saw the CinemaCon footage from Transformers: The Last Night, which is the fifth movie in the Michael Bay Bayhem epic.
You and I were watching the trailer for The Last Night just this morning, and the CG in it was astonishing. I've never seen anything like it. It looks amazing. And Michael Bay, for all his, ridiculous sensibilities, he knows how to frame a shot, and he seems to have solved one of the key problems of the franchise, which is when you have these Transformers on screen and they're battling, you have no idea what's going on. It's like an enormous demolition derby in a massive blender.
That's more to do with the edit rather than the actual.
But it's his film, and he is the one that says this is how it is, and yeah, exactly. It's a complete mess.
So this week I went off to LA and I got to see the CinemaCon footage. It was a day after it aired there, but it was the same footage. We learnt quite a lot, actually. The trailers have given some sneak peeks into some various things, but I think the opening sequence that we saw starts back off in Bournemouth, which is here in the UK, and you've seen that same wood in multiple movies, including Gladiator, Harry Potter, Captain America, numerous others. And it starts off with the Knights from King Arthur, so the Knights of the Round Table all getting together. John, who knew that the Transformers were there during what they called the Crusades?
The Crusades?
The Transformers were here during the Crusades. Who knew?
They were there.
They were there.
Shut the front door.
Yeah,
no way.
And one thing that was slightly strange was Stanley Tucci appeared in the previous film in Age of Extinction, and he also appears in this film, but as Merlin. And at the first time I saw him, I thought that's Stanley Tucci. And then I thought, why is he Merlin? And then I looked at someone and they looked at me and they went, why is Stanley Tucci Merlin? And I realised it wasn't just me asking that same question.
Outstanding.
So who knows why he is Merlin, but he is Merlin. And the other thing we learnt was that you may have seen in the trailer there's a yellow Autobot which is talking to Isabella Monet's character, who we assumed was Bumblebee, but it's not, because we see Bumblebee and them together.
Is it a rogue Bumblebee?
No, it's a character called Canopy, who is befriended by Isabella Monet's character, and we don't know much more about him, at least not from the footage that I saw. But yeah, like I say, Bumblebee and he appear on the screen at the same time. So we also saw the introduction of Anthony Hopkins' character. He plays a wealthy chap who lives in Alnwick Castle, although I think they sort of make out the fact that the location of the castle is where the Knights of the Round Table all met together, and we actually see the table built into his castle later. And he's joined by a Transformer that is called Bulldog.
Is he British? It's bound to be.
Well, yeah, he's a robot with dementia just because he's of his old age, but he sort of falls apart as he transforms, which is quite good. He's a World War One tank. So as bits are falling off of him, Anthony Hopkins sort of makes excuses for him. And the other thing that's quite amusing with Anthony Hopkins is he's got this dog, and the dog is actually famous in the UK media, and she's called Freya, and she was voted for as Britain's loneliest dog. I'm not entirely sure why, but Michael Bay somehow saw the dog on Twitter and ended up casting her in the movie. So the dog that you see with Sir Anthony Hopkins is actually the dog that Michael Bay spotted in the mirror.
What a bizarre piece of trivia that is.
There you go. While Anthony is talking to Mark Wahlberg outside Alnwick Castle, Laura Haddock's character crops up. She appears as if by magic by a Transformer driving down the road. I think it was a Lamborghini, and then sort of throwing her out the bonnet. What's that called in America? They don't call it a bonnet. They call it a hood. And
hood.
hood. And so out she pops. And it turns out we thought that she was the daughter of Anthony Hopkins. Turns out she's actually an Oxford University professor, dressed in what Mark Wahlberg describes as a stripper dress, and then banter ensues back and forth during that footage.
Nothing like Michael Bay to bring in some uncomplicated sexual politics and stereotypes there.
And we actually see Laura and Mark kiss at one point in some of the footage at the end as well. So there was the inevitable union of those two. Anthony Hopkins is also joined by a character called Cogman, who's a bit like C-3PO in Star Wars, and he's sort of his like butler of sorts. But what we didn't see was what sort of car he's going to be. From various searches, it seems that fans of the film are convinced it's actually an Aston Martin, which is I think the new Aston Martin DB11, which I know John's very excited about.
Frankly, I can't wait.
And but Cogman is a character that I think we're going to see a lot of. The thing that was bugging me in the footage was he's voiced by an English actor, and I couldn't for the life of me think who it was. And it's frustrated the heck out of me. And I actually spoke to 3 of the cast after seeing this footage and meant to ask all of them and forgot. So and I've scoured the internet and can't find it anywhere. It's not on IMDb. So if anyone knows who's voicing Cogman, if you could let me know, that would put me out of my misery. Although I guess the fact they haven't announced it means it's a secret, and therefore it should be more obvious to me who it was. But yeah, like I say, I've let the side down there.
What else did it say? So you had the Anthony Hopkins. Did we learn any more about the other new characters that we're going to see?
We've learned that the military are back, and they weren't really around in the... They were sort of a rogue military in Age of Extinction, but in this one it's Josh Duhamel's back with his, F-22s and his cool music, and Michael Bay with his, shots of helicopters,
sunsets and all that sort of stuff.
And Nimrod's above, making sure that the world is a safe place, even though it's not, because Transformers are around to kill us.
Yeah, they've done a really bad job of that, because I think everything's getting, going crazy. But some of the stuff we see in the trailers is a huge planet-eating something. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's Unicron, who was in the Transformers the movie. Some of the trailer scenes we've seen, ridiculously, destructive. I guess you didn't see any of that. Was it mainly just character pieces?
We didn't get to see any of that. That sounds like it's probably going to be a bit later on in the movie.
Sure.
But yeah, I think the big things to pick out from it were Cogman, that Transformer, the Isabella Monet, who actually, as Isabella Monet, seems to be the driving force behind this film. She's the one that's a lead character. I think Mark is probably there to support her more than the other way round. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's the way it seemed, especially in the second trailer when she narrated it and broke the fourth wall. I actually spoke to her a couple of days ago about it, and so you can watch our interviews where she talks a bit more about that and how Michael Bay surprised everyone by saying he was going to direct it at the last minute. So that's quite cool.
Okay, well, it doesn't sound like it's going to be too much different. I'm obviously going to watch it, but from what you saw and talking to the cast, have you got a good feeling about it?
Yeah, I think this one, from what I saw, and it's hard because it was sort of clips that were a minute long each, and there were about 6 of them. It did flow really nicely, and I don't know, the editing was slower and you could actually understand who people were. I guess the bits that we didn't see were huge fight sequences like you might see in the finished film, and that's where the editing gets a bit more messy. What we did see was Bumblebee and Optimus Prime fighting each other, as we've seen in the trailer. There's that moment where Optimus says to Bumblebee, we have no choice, and he sort of thrusts the sword in his direction, and we don't see what happens. In the footage we saw, Bumblebee and Optimus are having a massive fight, so there's obviously that big showdown there, and we don't know why, but I'm sure that will all become clear when the movie's out.
I'm sure fans who have sat through the first 4 are going to be happy with the next one. I personally can't wait. How long is it? 4.5 hours? Is it this time?
Yes, 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours.
So you can look forward to that.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Yay, we're excited.
So that's what we thought of Transformers: The Last Night footage. Let us know if we've got anything wrong, or if we've missed anything, or if you've got any questions about it. Put them in the comments below. But yeah, it does look like a really good film. If you're a fan of Transformers, you're going to love it. I'm hoping that it could go back to the original one, the way that was sort of shot, and it because in my opinion it was by far the best. But yeah, let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time on the next Mouth Off Vidcast. Take care, bye.
Au revoir.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey,